For families that have lost everything, like lost their homes, lost loved ones, they come to us when I see them in the camps. They're desperate, they're hopeless, they feel they lost everything, they can't go on. So you have to support them in a way to help them to change their lives and just give them that hope that life can go on as much as possible. The first thing is just get the trust of the patient, because when they come, they just want someone to listen to them, to their agony, to their pain. They tell me everything basically that they can't say to other people. They tell me things like how they were tortured, for instance, or how a woman, she told me how her husband was killed and beheaded in front of her. Things that she can't always repeat, but when they are in the office, they can say everything they feel they can say. When you listen, they feel loved, they feel basically a human being. MSF is helping people by helping them to change their lives, giving them a chance to see the future.
MSF is a medical humanitarian organization. We work in conflicts around the world, trying to provide people with medical assistance, with all sorts of care in some of the most difficult conditions around the world. MSF was started really with a very clear sort of medical focus, focusing on things like war surgery, responding to epidemics. We began to really understand that mental health very much had a place that had to be integrated in the package of care that we're providing to people.
MSF is helping by providing a mental health safety net. One is to ensure that people who have severe mental illness, who've come from places like Mosul, can restart their treatment. We also look after people who've experienced violence, loss, and grief. And that is much more about a talking therapy or about counseling, and about helping people manage the day-to-day stresses of what it might be like living in a camp.
When there's a crisis and after everything is stabilized, after they have their food, they have their shelter, but psychologically they're going downhill. So you have to intervene as quickly as possible to prevent going into depression, because depression doesn't just affect the person, the whole family's in pain.
All the time I'm afraid. I am worried day and night. So many of us have lost our families, have lost our children, our husbands, and this thinking has come to dominate us. We constantly live in a great horror and fear. There were so many days when I felt hopeless, and all I wanted was to just kill myself. And there were days when it was just too difficult and overwhelming to deal with my children, and I would end up taking out my frustrations and anger on them. When I was told about the psychological services that MSF was offering, I came to them because I needed someone to talk to, someone who could help and teach me how to help me with all this anger I was feeling. If we did not have this psychological support, we would have lost our lives and killed ourselves, because no one is there to support and guide us in the right way.
We are not going to change the fact they are poor, they don't have a house, the house is destroyed somewhere, they are displaced, they are living in a camp in very difficult conditions. That we cannot change a lot. But what we can change is the way they consider the situation.
MSF has given my son his life back. It has given him his future. When we fled from ISIS and came here, my son was so scared. He didn't want to go outside. He didn't talk to anyone, and because of all that we went through, he lost his memory. And now, thanks to Dr. Mahmoud, my boy is slowly returning to the child he once was.
I do try to help them and trying to look at the positive aspects of this. For instance, many families, they lost their home, but they have their family, they have their children, they're safe, they're in good health. So try to focus on the positive.
MSF is a marvelous model for exactly what the Pardes Humanitarian Award wants to do, and that is to celebrate, thank, appreciate, and show what people concerned about the psychological and psychiatric aspects of brutalities in general can and should do.
This is a wonderful recognition also of our own psychologists, mental health professionals that have been advocating inside the organization to take mental health and put it on the same level as other forms of care that we provide.
I have suffered loss, my house was burned. I can relate to the fear of being caught or being imprisoned or being killed or being tortured. I can feel their pain, I can understand their pain. You have to change, you have to adapt to every situation. Trying to cope day by day, I think this is the best way to go.